Welcome to another episode of Crime Pays, but Botany doesn't. Now, we've all been kind of stuck at home in quarantine the last couple of weeks due to the COVID, the Rona. And international travel, I think there's only a handful of countries that will actually let American residents, United States residents in. So as a result, since I've been stuck at home, I've just been doing a lot of reading, drawing some pictures and what the shit. And then I took on a project, basically turning this little parkway, sandwiched in between two opposing lanes of traffic, this little parkway near my house, turn it into a garden. Completely selfishly, I just ran out of space in my own garden, and I had a lot of stuff to plant because I kept growing stuff. So anyway, what you're looking at now is what most of the parkway used to look like before I started messing around with it. You could see you got a wide assortment of non-native weeds, using the dying chlorotic roses, of which there are about 9,000 of them planted here, as a protective cover. Now, I hate to think what the total cost of this little parkway planting must have been, because I think it was somewhere around $9 or $10 million. Okay, now this used to be a double-decker freeway here. It collapsed in the 1989 earthquake. It was just kind of a rubble field for a few years after, and then in the early 2000s, someone, I guess the city got together and put, all the nice concrete and sidewalks and shit with the curbs, and then they put in all the roses. Now, I don't know who planted most of this shit or what list they picked from, but it is awful. I mean, they have some horrible stuff planted here. 9,000 roses going up for the next 20 blocks. The trees are all non-native, from the East Coast, where they have warm, humid summers and not adapted to the dry Mediterranean climate. And so a lot of them died. And then they got this irrigation put in. You could see it's over there. Just little sprinkler heads come up, but they don't turn it on. So they turn it on for the lawn, which is nice and green and also covered in dog shit, but they don't turn it on for the landscaping beds. So as a result, all the stuff they planted generally looks like shit. But you can see the dandelions, the non-native weedy species, are doing quite well. And that's kind of what the roses end up acting as. They flower for 2 weeks out of the year, and then they look like shit the other 50 weeks out of the year. And they just act as like a little snail farm and a protective cover for the weeds and whatnot. So I says to myself, why don't I just go in there and remove a couple of them? Nobody would know, because it looks like such shit anyway, and I'll just start planting my own stuff, and then figure out how to turn the irrigation on, which is basically what I did. So let's take a look. You can see it got started with these cypress trees. These are mine. Those pines are mine. I just started planting trees here, but eventually, I realized that as my interest branched off into herbaceous perennials and more stuff like that, I started planting other stuff. Like this endangered hibiscus lasiocarpus, which used to be ubiquitous throughout the San Joaquin Delta area and up the Sacramento River watershed in Central California, but now is nearly extirpated in the wild, save for a few populations, mostly due to non-native invasive species like Himalayan blackberry and arundo. But I got a couple seeds from a population over there, grew a bunch out, and then stuck them in the ground. This guy's been here about 2 or 3 years. You could see he's got a little puya down there, the Chilean bromeliads with the nice flowers. Okay, might have to remove those. Might just let them grow too. Maybe it'll work. Maybe it can work. Maybe they can grow together. Who knows? Anyway, this guy's about to flower. Cotton family, mallow family, malvaceae. You can see the epicalyx. Those are those bracts which will then unfurl, those very spinose bracts, and then you get a big white flower about yay big, just going off. Very nice to have around. Very nice to look at. Certainly nicer than the dying roses. Now the next bed that I started messing with was this one right here. This was formerly filled with the dying chlorotic roses, trademark, and I think that was it. Half the roses were dead, the others were dead when I removed them. And what I did is I had a mulch company, a tree service company, dump a bunch of mulch here, just a giant fucking pile, and then I got 3 or 4 heads together, and we just moved the shit, with the little 10-gallon containers. Some guy brought a Rubbermaid bin, and we just moved it and spread it out, basically, thus creating a better, once that mulch breaks down, it creates a better habitat in the soil, for all the fungi and microbes and what the shit. And then once that happened, I started planting my own stuff, and you could see, a lot of these Well, first off, these I grew from seed. This is a penstemon from the cloud forest of Oaxaca. Okay, genus penstemon is very speciose. Probably has 200 or 300 species in it. A lot of good ones in Mexico. Very glandular, sticky ass leaves, perfoliate. There's no petiole there. Okay, of course you got the zygomorphic corolla right there. See, with the infamous beard tongue, except that it's got a little bit of fuzz on it. That staminode, sterile stamen poking out. The actual stamens are in the flower right there. Okay, so this, I'll use this as a seed source. I get a bunch of seed from this in 2 or 3 weeks when they're ready, and I'll send it out to people, whoever wants some. Give some to the Botanic garden, grow a shit ton more, plant more out, whatever. So it's basically treating it like a seed farm, but also it's just nicer to look at than the dead roses. So I started with that. I got the daturas in there. You can see they got a little too wet. I turned the sprinklers on a little too long. They got a little too wet, and the daturas kind of wilted. Cucumbers, or no, it says squash, excuse me, Cucurbitaceae, a cucumber family, going off right there. I think they're kabocha squash. They were just in some compost that I threw in there, and I dug holes and threw the compost in because the soil was pretty compacted, and there were worms in the compost, so the worms would kind of, by default, help till the soil a little bit. Okay, got a Pluchia right there, a native Asteraceae. Got another hibiscus. Got a salvia some guy gave me. Got actually a Bernardesia over there, Basal Asteraceae from Chile. You can see there's a Cereus cactus, the genus Cereus. Now the landscapers come by, and they used to come by and they inadvertently weed whack the stuff till I caught them doing it and just kindly asked them to not fuck with any of it because it was intentionally planted. And you can see they weed whacked that cactus, but he's got a sprout coming back right there. He's got a sprout coming back. Now that Turaritii is probably one of the best plants you could plant. That'll grow in Chicago too if you get the seeds for it. It's a Mojave Desert, Sonoran Desert native. Goes into Texas a little bit, and you get it growing in the Central Valley all over here. It's a nightshade family, Solanaceae. The seeds of it are poisonous and hallucinogenic. So not only do you risk killing yourself, but you get to experience a little, terribly. It's kind of like it's not a pleasant hallucinogenic experience. You still catch the high school kids trying to do it occasionally. Then they end up, in the emergency room or walking down the freeway half naked at 3 in the morning. Over there you got the Salvia gesneriflora. Now this is one of the first plants I planted here, along with that Caranthophragmantia lenzii, which is a hybrid of our native California flannel bush mixed with the Mexican hand tree. And you got nice flowers. The birds drink out of that. So I'm creating habitat basically too, which is half the reason I do this stuff, because I like seeing the birds and the insects and shit around. Makes me feel a lot less like killing someone or myself. You can see the dragonflies over there too. So I catch hummingbirds hanging out here. Get bumblebees on that massive solanum from Peru. Now this is actually kind of a pain in the ass plant. I might have to take it out. I was just experimenting. Got the seed from a buddy in Peru, and it turns out it's actually pretty aggressive. Okay, which is you get little seedlings coming up only because I'm watering. They wouldn't be aggressive in the native California landscape because it's not adapted to summer dry. But regardless, I might have to take that guy out. But for right now, he's nice for the pollinators. Look at those purple flowers, purple solanum flowers. Got a verbena right there. Got another hibiscus over here. Then I got this Quercus rugosa. This has been here for a while, actually. It's a Mexican oak, and it does very well here as long as it gets a little bit of irrigation in the summer. Look at that new foliage coming out. All those anthocyanins and carotenoid pigments protecting the delicate new foliage from the sun. Okay, seems like the water might be a little too saline for it here. It is recycled water that they get watered with. That's why you get that. Basically the minerals in the water seem to accumulate at the distal ends of the leaves. So I got a lobelia right there. See that? It looks like a crackhead through a traffic cone over there. That's nice. You got your Malacothamnus over here, a native mallow that I goddamn love. Okay, native mallow. It's a fire dependent mallow, but it doesn't seem to mind the irrigation either. Okay, this is a Malva neglecta. It's kind of an invasive bastard. I have to rip this guy out later. But you can see this thing just cascades of pink flowers. Okay, you get a lot of the Malacothamnus in Southern California, the chaparral mallow. Let's move right along. So anyways, I started with this bed, And then I got a friend who works at a nursery. He hooked me up with some little 4x4 pots of different stuff I threw in there. Nice. You see I got that Asclepias that's a seed grown. Planted that last year. It's a perennial, so it comes back. Got a nice Helenium with those globose capitula from Asteraceae. Got a variety of more penstemons, little dainty bastards. A Lamiaceae, I forget which genus that was, but it's one from the horticultural trade. And you got these, you know, the squashes are just going nuts, which is actually kind of nice because, like I said, they break up the soil and they, you know, they kind of act as a natural living mulch, protecting that soil from getting too hot in the sun and protecting from all the water from evaporating with the shit. Okay, got an Iochroma here, really cool cloud forest Solanaceae from South America. Now you might be asking, is any of the South American stuff invasive? Some of it is, but not most. Most of the worst invasives tends to come from across the ocean on either side, because you know those ecosystems on either side of the ocean have been separated much longer than the ecosystems in North and South America. You know, if something from South America, yeah, a lot of the generic. There's basically what I'm saying is, since there's not as wide of a oceanic gap between, you know, a vicariance barrier between the North American ecosystem and the South American ecosystem. You know, a lot of generic exist on both sides of the equator. So what I'm trying to say is that you tend to get the worst invasives from, you know, from Australia, South Africa, similar climates, Mediterranean style climates like we have here, but you know, about 60 million years removed from this ecosystem. So does that make any fucking sense? Maybe not. Anyway, you got I planted a nice Physalis there, another Solanaceae, the ground cherries. It's one of the Peruvian ones. Delicious. You can see this English ivy. I'm in the process of ripping it out because it's a fucking horrible plant here, just super invasive. What's kind of cool though is this is an invasive species of orchid. It's not very aggressive, but I kind of like having it around. It's Epipactis helibarin. Let me see. Oh yeah, you still got a couple flowers going off right there. You get this coming up in the Botanic gardens here a lot. Okay, I think it's kind of beautiful. Okay, but it does. It is pretty invasive. The seeds are just like grains of dust. Okay, so it's I don't know how the fuck it made it here. Probably on the mulch, maybe on a mulch, but it's doing well. And of course, all orchids are mycorrhizal, so this being here probably means there's a healthy fungal microbiome going on in that soil right here. But yeah, this English ivy's bad. I'm gonna have to rip that out. I did drop some seeds of a European species in the family Orobanchaceae. It's a specific parasite on this species. It can only parasitize English ivy. So hopefully, you know, maybe we'll see some coming up in a couple of years. Before, I don't know, maybe not. And there's a flower that Carantho Framantia. Looks like a little hand. That Androgynophore. Okay, you got the 5 fingers being the stamens, so you can see the anthers on them with the pollen, and then at the central style, all being part of the same structure right there. It's an Androgynophore. The birds love drinking nectar out of this because you do get nectar in those little indentations, those 5 little indentations at the bottom of the corolla right there. So that's, yeah, it's pretty nice. It's pretty nice. Over here you got the Salvia macrophylla. Okay. Note the beautiful abaxial purple leaf surface right there. There's the flowers too. Intensely glandular, so much so you get bugs stuck in it all the time. And same thing here. You know, each one of these calyces has 4 seeds in it. I'll come back in a couple weeks, harvest the seed out of the calyces. Maybe there's some right there. Yeah, there you go. See, harvest the seed out of calyces and grow more of them. This is a native. This mallow right here. Cotton family, Malvaceae, of course, Lavitera astragentiflora. They might have it in Malva now, in the genus Malva. It's from the Channel Islands, but it does great here. It's that it can take the dryness, it's drought tolerant, and then it produces these little schizocarps with the mericarp in there. The mericarp just being, see, there's an individual mericarp. Okay? And these things, I think the birds eat them. Hummingbirds pollinate them, and I think the birds eat them, and then they just, you know, great fucking plant. Got an understory of lupin right there. A buddy gave this to me, this lupinus. So I planted quite a few of those. This little patch I just got started on maybe 4 months ago. Same thing as what I showed you over there. It was just all dying roses, looked like total shit. You know, hadn't been watered in fucking years aside from the winter rains we get. And that was just filled with weeds and dead roses. So I removed all of them and then just went nuts planting my own stuff and put a light dressing and mulch on top to keep the rest of the weeds down and help keep that soil inside the, inside the soil horizon. So over here we got, this is actually a South African plant, but like I said, none of this stuff is going to be invasive here since it doesn't rain in the summer. Okay, but it's in a milkweed subfamily of Apocynaceae, and I do love the goddamn milkweed, so go fuck yourself. How about that? This is Gomphocarpus physocarpus, and what's hilarious about this plant is the fruit that it puts out looks like a hairy scrotum, just kind of like a ball bag, you know, like that. Milkweed subfamily. Over here we got a species of Clarkia. Over here we got a species of Lysingea. Now the contractors come by and they weed whack this. Okay. They just weren't fucking thinking. I don't know if the guy was hungover or blunted or what, but he just, you know, I don't know what. Without attacking the working class too much, I will say he did appear to have a double-digit IQ. He didn't really seem to think about what he was doing, but you know, that's most people at their jobs, and I can't say I blame him. These guys probably getting fucking paid 12 bucks an hour. But the city is stuck in a contract with this landscape company, and you know, they fucking can't get out of it. They don't do anything anyway. They just, you know, cut the grass every 2 weeks or something. Anyway, I caught him doing it, and I said, could you please not do that? All this shit is planted. You know what? Just don't worry about anything for around the 4 blocks here. I'll weed everything, which I do anyway. And so I sent them on their way, and now it's just, you know, you could see this thing was massive. This Lysingea was massive, and he weed whacked it. I don't know what he... I'm glad he didn't weed whack this, but I gotta wonder what the fuck the guy was thinking, why he just chose to... You know, he selectively weed whacked a bunch of stuff. Maybe he just liked the sound the weed whacker make. That could be a thing too, you know, like little kids, you know, I don't know. So anyway, you got the Clarkia, you got the Lysingea. This fucker just started blooming. Okay, it's a nice native member of the Asteraceae, obviously. Look at those multi-seriate phyllaries, kind of recurved off of that involucre a little bit. That Tura, again, of course, wonderful plant. Remember, you could grow that in Chicago too. I'll send you some seeds if you want. Okay, all right. Just, you know, send me a couple bucks. This is that Tura rhytii. In Chicago, they don't come back. Obviously, they don't come back the next year. They'll just create more seed, and then you got to, you know, so you treat them like annuals, even though it's a perennial. This forms a giant tuber in the ground, and they come back every year here. But in Chicago, where it gets -30, they're not going to survive. But they will get 4 feet fucking tall, much bigger, much different habit than you get here in the dry climate, you know. So anyway, you can see they weed whacked this, but we still got some stuff coming back. This is Encilia densifolia, super rare member of the Asteraceae. This is Monardella macrantha. A buddy gave this to me, and we had a penstemon here. He got weed whacked, just coming back. We got Lobelia tupa, one of the Chilean lobelias. This is a wonderful fucking guy. The Chilean lobelias are weird. This guy gets 6 feet tall. Okay, he can get 6 feet tall. Maybe he'll do it next year. This is his first year here. He's a perennial. So, got a nice Eriogonum species. Got a Nicotiana. I believe this is Nicotiana alata. Nice nicotine species. Obviously, it's a fucking bonanza for the pollinators. Here's a Asclepias speciosa. And these are seed grown, which is pretty interesting because you could see it's flowering. I didn't know they would flower their first year. Must be because I've been watering them right here. But you can see he's got flowers heads forming. That's a first year seedling. This guy's only been alive 5 months. How about that? You can see the squash is just taking over. Now I put the squash in. It will suck a lot of the nutrients out, but that's fine because a lot of these plants are adapted to nutrient poor soils anyway. And the squash gets really big, really fast. And those giant leaves do protect the soil from drying out. Look at this, is another first year. This is Onathera deltoides subspecies Howellii from the Antioch Dunes, and I just germinated this fucker probably four months ago, maybe. You can see he's already flowering. Gotta pull this fucking weedy bastards out. You can see he's already flowering. He's got that pollen occurring in viscent threads like so many of the onograds, but this guy's rare. He's an endangered plant. I believe he might be listed. I think it's a listed plant. Only grows on the Antioch Dunes habitat, you know, by the San Francisco Bay Delta, where the Sacramento and American rivers meet the fucking and the San Joaquin River meet the bay. Okay, nice Encilia californica over there, and right here. Oh, this guy's nice. This is really nice. Helianthus argophyllus. Collected the seed last, I believe it was September in South Texas. And you can see he's just about to open up. Now this is from a much hotter environment, okay? They grow in basically sandy deposits, very, sandy areas. So fast draining, nutrient poor soil substrate in South Texas. This was from Falfurrias, Texas, over there. So I forget what fucking county it was. I don't know, maybe it was Hidalgo County, I don't know. But it was nice, these get fucking great plant. And it's an annual. So basically same thing. I'm gonna get these to flower. I'm gonna grow a bunch of I'm gonna get a bunch of seeds, and then I'm gonna send them off to people who want to grow them. Or plant more. Maybe donate some to the Botanic garden. It's a rare fucking plant. Look at this massive squash. This used to be bigger, but the contractors came here and just fucking hacked it to death. So what are you gonna do? Oh, this is a great one. This is a species of Fabiana. It's a desert nightshade from Chile, from high elevation desert in Chile. Look at it. Almost looks like a juniper, but then you see those flowers, total nightshade flowers, okay? Over here we got Quercus tomentula, the Channel Island oak, another rare and endangered oak species. And over here you got a begonia, which is a tree-like member of the poppy family. Now this guy will eventually get 10 feet tall. Now is that going to be a problem here? It very well might be. But it was a worse problem, having a bunch of shitty dying chlorotic roses and fucking trash and weeds coming up. So I don't know, I'll be here for a while. I'll manage it. If it gets to be too bad, I'll prune it or cut it down, whatever. One of my favorite agave species, I believe this is a agave Celsius. Look at that. Grew that from seed. It's about 3 years old. I gotta get these senecios out of here. We're one of the most common weeds we get here, is senecio. Over here you got Deuteraconia, another Chilean bromeliad. And you got some white sage. Salvia apiana too. This is the hippies love. They think it cleanses. They think it's cleansing if you light it on fire. Okay, it's getting poached like hell from its habitat in Southern California. It does smell very delectable though. One of the most fragrant salvias there is. Oh my God. Okay, here's the site of one of my former wood chip piles. Just call a tree company or go on chipdrop.com and you'll get free wood chips. That's the best thing you can do for the soil. If you got shit soil, okay, especially very clay-like, dig a couple holes, mix some chips in there, throw the clay back in there, mix it up nice. Anyway, so I just on the other side of that. I got this nice little dungeon over here you can hide out in. Okay, I was always worried someone was going to build a homeless camp, at which point I would first try diplomacy and ask them to kindly move, just because this is a de facto garden. But then I would just remind them that I do turn the sprinklers on every few days, so they can't hang out long. But luckily there wasn't a problem. I try to be supportive of the community, but you can't. I just don't want a bunch of garbage and shit here. You know what I mean? Anyway, this is Tagetes lemonii. Smells absolutely fantastic. Mexican marigold's the common name for it. You could see those. It's got pungent glands. See those orange little dots? Pungent glands on the undersides of the foliage. And cool thing about this, you could hack it down to hack it down and it'll sprout back. Okay, you can't let it dry out too much because it is from Mexico where they get the summer rain. Over here we got two more wonderful species of Mexican arborescent asters, basically bush asters. These will get upwards of 10 or 20 feet tall. This one, Tithonia, the city actually took down. The city came here and they hacked the shit out of it because somebody called in. I guess it was growing in to the road. It's my fault. I should have come by and done the pruning myself. I didn't think. It was going into the road. They hacked it down, left the stump, and now it's growing back, which is great. This is a Smolanthus maculatus, another big ass member of the Asteraceae, like I was telling you, and it gets a lot of water here. And it's actually good they hacked it down because I planted this guy after this guy, and this guy was shading them out a little bit. So now they got equal footing. It's fair game. It's an equal competition. They're both going to get 10 feet tall, all right? And then, when I'm about to crack, I'm going to come here and, practice some fucking meditation so I don't kill nobody. I got my nice little cutty spot here, okay? But anyway, it gets really nice flowers again. Mexico's got a lot of really cool members of the sunflower family. A lot of diversity down there. This is a species of Montanoa. Another Asteraceae right there. But he's not doing too good. I don't think he gets enough water. Look at all the trichomes and hairs on that abaxial side. How about that? Okay, and then you see a nice illegal dumping right here, which is basically what I told the city I would do if they destroyed any of my plants. You know, I said, I'm going to do this whether you're with me or not, and if you rip out any of my stuff, I'm just going to start dumping trash there. But looks like someone already beat me to it, which is kind of a shame. There were some needles here, some heroin needles, that evidently got cleaned up. But I don't know why they didn't just clean up the rest of the stuff. I don't know. Anyway, this is a species of elm. This is the notorious Siberian elm. This is a volunteer. I did not plant this. It just came up by itself. But I did chainsaw the shit out of it, though, because it was, you know, presenting a traffic hazard. Because, you know, people coming out, this cars speed down here, there's no stop sign there, and cars would stop, and then they just couldn't see shit because there was all the leaves and stuff. So I got up there with a chainsaw. I just started hacking it down. I'll probably take the whole thing down at some point, but it is kind of nice. I do feel a little bad cutting down a tree in this shitty city. You know, I mean, all cities are shitty. I love Oakland. I'm just saying, you know, a big shitty city. I feel bad cutting a tree down, even if it isn't invasive, you know. But I still might do it, because these things, I mean, they're so fertile, and these little samaras blow everywhere, and it'll just create more of it. You create a fucking nuisance somewhere else, you know what I mean? Create 10,000 more nuisances. If you don't get this one, you'll have a bunch more problems later on. Now over here, this is actually a pretty interesting plant. I believe it was only it was unknown to science prior to the 70s or 80s. This is Pinus maximartinesii, another plant from the pine oak forests of Mexico. I forget exactly where it's from. I think it might be Jalisco. I don't know. I shouldn't fucking open my mouth. This is some feverfew, kind of invasive Asteraceae, but it does smell kind of nice, and the herbalists like putting it in their ass and stuff. So I figured, you know, why not let them get their rocks off? I'll leave it there. You know, it looks like shit now because it's, you know, hasn't been getting enough water. Okay, so anyway, this guy, what I did have to do with this though is put some mycorrhizal. I got this mycorrhizal root dip gel that you use for bare root seedlings, and I basically dug a little hole and dumped some of it in there because him being a pine, they do like a mycorrhizal symbiosis. They need it, and you know, I figured it'd be best to inoculate him now. You know, so he's this isn't a perfect climate for him. Like I said, he's used to summer rain, so I gotta get some more irrigation on there. Pines are overall somewhat drought tolerant, but this guy, being from the cloud forests of southern Mexico, he does need some additional moisture. This was given to me by a friend who worked at the University of California Botanic Garden, and I got two of them. I got the other one in front of my house. So this guy, hopefully he'll do good. You know, they get kind of big, nice. You got a nice fucking luster to those blue 5-needled fascicled leaves. How about that? Here you go. You got a Guadalupe cypress, incense cedar, and another Guadalupe cypress. I all grew from seed. Grew all those bastards from seed. Okay, so over here we had a Guadalupe cypress growing here too, but the city removed it. You might be asking, does the city ever remove stuff? Yes, they do. And depending on what it is and why they removed it, if they removed it just because some fucking landscaper, whoever's in charge of the landscape here must be a jackass. I don't know. They came by, they said some of the trees were inappropriate. They removed a couple, and then they planted some other trees, you know, horticultural atrocities, Canary Island pines and whatnot, and then they just died. So yeah, I kind of had the last laugh, but it was still a bummer. You know, there was a nice cypress growing here, and it got removed. So if it does happen again, I probably will go ballistic and threaten somebody, but right now it seems fine. So I got another mulch pile done. This is going to decompose to about half its height in the winter once it rains. We got here a nice grindelia. This is supposedly a nice remedy for poison oak. And when I did have a rather strong and pungent, I wouldn't say pungent, it didn't smell, but it was painful. I had a poison oak inflammation on my ass maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and I went and got some spray from the store, and it had grindelia in it. It was like a remedial spray, not to remove the oil spray. It had some grindelia in it, and this they call this the gumweed, and you can see why. Those capitula, before they open, are just covered in this white resin, and supposedly that's what's got the remedial properties for your ass, you know, or your arms or your legs if you get the poison oak right there. And anyway, I planted this. It was a 4x4 container, and now you can see it's doing very well. This is actually kind of it's a pretty hardy plant when you plant it out. The grindelias, they can take a beating and they go off, and they're fucking great plant. We got a species of I believe that's Isocoma, or it might be Hazardia, I forget. But Over here another species of Grandia, obviously more erect, a little different leaf shape, but it does produce seedlings down there. And that's what I'll do. I'll come back and I'll get the seed out of here. I'll get the seed out of here and grow more. Just bring them to the other little landscaping beds. You get the seeds out of there. Some good ones. Again, Quercus rugosa. This has been here for a while. This, yeah, it's like 6 feet tall. It's taking a long time to get 6 feet tall. It's not wet enough here for it, but it hangs in there. I mean, it's from a xeric environment, so it's adapted to dry. But like I said, they get those summer rains. So, but it can also take the dry periods too. Agave vilmoriniana, octopus agave right there. It's going to be a stunner when it gets bigger. Just some kale seeds I threw down for shits and giggles. Okay, pretty hardy. You can see that snails tore it apart, but it just kept going. And you know, just a nice brassica. You gotta have a nice brassica every once in a while, you know, on the landscaping with the shit. Again, tons of seed right here. You know, free to whoever wants it. So these were victims of the landscaper when he came through with this legacy of brutality and moronics a month ago. Had a bunch more shit here. They weed whacked it. They left the manzanita alone. They left that manzanita alone, and thank God they left that Prunus ilicifolia alone too. It's basically a native cherry, a native to Southern California, and they're, you know, they get big. They're very they bloom. It's really nice, and they got fruit that the birds like and shit. So it's a nice. It's good for the wildlife and stuff. Over there you got a cultivar of Sphaeralsia, the desert mallow. That cultivar, I think, is named Chelsea. Another friend of mine gave it to me. He works at he's got his own nursery. He gave me a couple plants of those, so I planted them out. It's a perennial. Okay, so the lantana, it's kind of a horticultural atrocity. Verbenaceae is the family, the verbena family. Lamiales is the order. Okay, I didn't plant this. It was here. The city planted it. It was just looking like shit before I turned the water on. So it's kind of a horticultural atrocity, but it is good for the pollinators. You get a lot of fucking insects out here enjoying themselves, you know, getting themselves off, pollinating it, whatever they do, whatever the bugs do over there, you know. So yeah, I like having it around. It's kind of nice. This smells kind of nice too. But I did plant all this stuff. Stuck these in the ground, just basically, you know, it just helped out the beds a little bit. Asclepias speciosa, forming little colonies, sending out runners and whatnot. This over here is the Lobelia tupa flower. You can see it's doing. When he's open, man, I tell you, they're real nice. You got basically 5 petals all fused into a little sheath, and then the little style comes out like a pollen presenter. There's more of that Lobelia tupa. So this is one Asclepias speciosa plant, then you get the Lobelia tupa. The Asclepias speciosa, the showy milkweed, just sent out runners everywhere. It's excellent. See, I put a little tag here. Maybe the crackheads will be less inspired to rip it out. Crackheads and Karens are what I worry about. You get both here. It is the California dichotomy. Extreme poverty and then extreme, like, entitled bourgeoisie shit. You know, it's very, very odd, okay? You never know who's going to fuck with your plants. I got a Silphium in here, which the snails just destroyed. I got a kill-on-site policy for the snails. You can see they just took that one apart. Luckily, it's a perennial. It'll come back. Okay, this is, of course, the prairie dock, native to the Midwest, but it's, you know, it's a great fucking plant here. Leaves get upwards of 2 feet long, and it sends up a 10-foot tall flower head. Probably won't do that here because it doesn't get enough water, but it'll hang in. There's the Datura just forming a nice little carpet in a mat. We had a Salvia macrophylla over here too, but it flowered and it kind of started to look like shit, so I cut it back, and now it's coming back from the root nice. You can cut all those salvias. They take a cut back very nice. Now I started working this bed maybe a year or two ago. I got that Datura right there. I got a little agave at the base of that pole over there. The fucking lantana's still there, of course. I had a Malacothamnus here, which is a nice mallow, but the mouth breather with the weed whacker just kind of, you know, I don't know what he was thinking. He didn't like the mallow. I think he thought it was a weed or something. Who knows? Over here you got Iliamna remota forming a little colony. This is that endangered Kankakee mallow. I got an Aesculus californica native buckeye, which is very odd that it's still got leaves right now. They're normally drought deciduous. This guy, I do water this bed, and it's probably bad for this guy because they like it dry in the summer, in the late summer. But we'll see. Beneath them, I got one of the nice Mexican cloud forest oaks. I forget which species that is. It might be Germana or Rhizophylla. Over there we got Encina californica. I just planted the seed itself right there. See, same thing with this Quercus chrysalopus, Canyon livo. I think it does. They don't like a lot of summer water. Just not used to it. Over here we got a Physalis ground cherry. Most delicious fruit in the Solanaceae. Probably little yellow berries. It tastes good as hell. You get a packet of them, you know, for like $4 a whole paycheck. Okay. Over there we got Asclepias fascicularis, narrow leaf milkweed. A crackhead or somebody ripped that out, but they didn't get the rhizome, so it's sprouting again. Joke's on them. Asclepias speciosa. Again, this was seed grown by me. Oh, this guy's about to flower too. Threw it in there. Got a nice evening primrose, that Onathra back there. Now this guy particularly has some very nice illustration of the Vissen threads of Onagraceae. So Onagrades, evening primrose, as you can see, they don't get pollen. See, it looks like cobwebby pollen strands. Looks like somebody kind of blew their load all over it. Is that too lewd for you? Whatever. You know what I'm talking about. Oh, the whole family gets those Vissen thread pollen. It's kind of a synapomorphy for the whole family. I don't think every species in the family has it, but it's basically just an efficient way to transport pollen. You know, you get pollen that occurs in these strands instead of as individual granules. Kind of like what orchids and milkweeds do with their pollen. They put them in these little nodules, the pollinia. So over there we got another species of Malacothamus. That'll get big as fuck, actually. I'm actually kind of worried about that. You don't want shit to get too big. And if it does, you got to come prune it back. Because this one, you know, the Gentiles and shit start complaining. You get some Karen complaining that you can't see or whatever the fuck. I don't know what the fuck. You know, most people are so ignorant of plants. They see something overgrown and too big, and even if it's not directly threatening them, they still just want to cut it down. Okay, so, you know, a couple, maybe a month or two ago, a guy contacted me, said he worked at a nursery and he could donate a bunch of stuff because they're normally donating stuff anyway. And due to COVID, due to the Rona, they haven't had many of their donor recipients get involved, you know, because it's just, you know, I don't know if they donate to schools or whatever, but there wasn't a high demand for donations. So he called me up and he said he had a bunch to give me, and I said, sure, please do. So here's another bed. We just laid this in the ground right now, mulched the shit out of it. It was dry and dead before, just dry, bare soil with whatever, you know, whimsical horticultural atrocities the city chose to plant there, just clinging to life. Obviously, you got the lantana that looked like shit 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. I turned the water on, planted a bunch of this stuff, turned the water on. So you got a Lysingia, you got it's a Salvia leucophylla hybrid, I believe. Cool native sage. Then you got some proteas just for shits and giggles. Is this a grevillea? I think it is. I forget which grevillea this was the guy gave me. One of the ones from Eastern Australia. But you know, the Proteaceae, they're not really invasive. But it's a really cool plant family. Ancient lineage of plants right here. Okay? You got those 4 tepals, that little paisley looking thing, and then the pollen presenter coming out. And they do secondary pollen presentation too. So this little pollen presenter, you know, will first, well, I gotta kind of cut them open to see. There you go. You know what? I don't have to cut this guy open. You got the tepals right there, and the anthers are on the inside of those tepals. Can you see that right? The anthers are on the inside of the tepals, and the pollen presenter basically picks up pollen on the anthers right there. See that little yellow dot? That's the anther right there on the inside of that tepal. The pollen presenter picks that up, presents the pollen like he's doing now, and then it goes into the female phase afterwards. So, and of course, all the proteas, they have always got this super, you know, leathery, you know, stiff, prickly foliage. Okay, doesn't feel very. It's not very soft. Okay, evergreens. They're evergreen, prickly foliage. I do love a grevillea. Now, in this bed over here, we got probably one of the showiest flowers on this whole goddamn parkway when it does bloom. This is Puya berteroniana from Chile. It's a bromeliad. It's a dry bromeliad. It's a drought-tolerant bromeliad. It forms massive colonies. Very painful plant, but when it flowers, it'll send up a 5 or 6 foot tall inflorescence, completely covered in probably 200 to 300 golf ball-sized iridescent blue flowers. Yes, metallic blue flowers. It's a fucking incredible plant. And very easy to grow from seed, too. We grew a ton of these. Not invasive. Almost wish it was. This is a Tecate cypress. Real nice Southern California cypress. Grew this guy from seed, trim in the ground right there. This is a Quercus It's your typical Quercus agrifolia, okay? Your California coast live oak, and I just threw the acorn there. There used to be a maple there. It looked like shit, so I removed it. It was one of these, but the other ones looked, you know, looked bad. I don't even know what fucking maple this is. I just, you know, the city, I don't know what they were thinking when they planted half this stuff. You got a serious species right there. I caught some guys trying to dig this out 2 weeks ago. I said, what the fuck are you doing? I'll give you one. And they said, okay, sorry. So then I just, you know, gave them a cutting I had from one of my house. Luckily I caught them though. This is one of my favorites. Salvia discolor, okay? From Peru, a dry salvia, a xeric adapted salvia. You can see that heavily tomentose, woolly, abaxial surface that had leaf. And the coolest of all, the almost black flowers. They're more like a navy. They're kind of black. They're kind of black. And heavily glandular. I mean, so glandular you get bugs stuck in a goddamn, you know, just one of those plants that's so sticky. And again, it's basically an evolution, or an adaptation, an evolutionary adaptation to insect herbivory, right there. So glandular, and it smells pretty good too, being in the Lamiaceae mint family. Okay, and same thing here. You know, luckily these plants are self-fertile. I don't have two different individuals around. I just got the one. But these plants are self-fertile. Come back, shake those calyces out, get the 4 seeds out of them. You can grow more. Oh, Puncha robusta, and then some agave americana. This clone is actually from a train yard in Milpitas, California, where the whole fucking hillside was covered in these. For some reason, this specific individual phenotype sends abundant pups out. Not all agave americana do this, but this one does. I mean, they're all the same plant, the same genetic individual, but it sends out abundant pups. I mean, where I got this from, there had to be 500 of these just all coming out, all different sizes coming out of the damn hillside, you know. Some Latino maintenance away worker probably planted it 60 years ago down there in Warm Springs. There's another mulch pile I got to work on. All right, no rush, no rush. Over here we got a Tecate cypress I planted. The dogs kept pissing on it. So I threw an agave there. It's kind of a deterrent to keep the dogs away. Over here you could see a Canary Island pine that the city planted. It's one of about 30 that they planted. There's only probably 5 or 6 still alive. The rest just totally died. Okay, now it's probably a nice tree and habitat over there in the Canary Islands, you know, near the gateway to the Mediterranean. But you know, here it's just kind of a horticultural atrocity. I associate this plant with office parks, strip mall parking lots, and other bleak human environments in California. This guy's right here. You got a Guadalupe cypress. I planted it way too close to the Santa Cruz cypress, but it's fine. They'll be fine. You know, we'll see which one. Might have to take that Santa Cruz cypress out when this guy gets bigger, because he's more rare and kind of cooler looking. But you know, whatever. What are you gonna do? Over here we got a California sycamore, looking sparky. Huh? How about that? Super fast growing tree, the Arroyo sycamore. I wish they would have planted these instead of the closely related but 10 times more obnoxious London plane tree. This they get big, and then those, like most sycamores, they get that bark that just looks like a bone sticking out of the ground. Beautiful fucking plant. Closely related, well, their closest relatives are the proteas from South America, or from the southern hemisphere, which is extremely fucking weird. But they're in the order Proteales. But anyway, the sycamores are fucking cool. Ancient lineage, like the proteas. You know, you find them abundant in the Green River Formation from the Eocene in Wyoming, and there's older fossils than that too, and I believe they're all over the world. Nice palmate leaves. Grew this guy from seed, from a tiny seed near a population on the south coast. So anyway, there you go. Platanus racemosa. You know, that guy's 3 years old. He's already 15 feet tall. Okay, so this bed I just started on 2 months ago, maybe a month ago. Got all the shit through this, all the shit to plant here I got about a month ago. You see, I got a datura, got a nice, it's a sapote, I forget which. Sapote is a common name, refers to quite a few different plants. I'm not familiar enough with the family to really open my mouth about it yet. Somebody gave that to me. Got some silphiums, of course. The fucking snails are taken apart. Got to come out here and squash a few of them. This is pretty cool. Cantua buxifolia. It's a tree-like member of the Polemoniaceae. That's just a seedling. I got a big one. I got a big one over there. But and then just some Midwestern perennials and stuff. You know, I just got to keep them watered. Of course, you got the one of the Asclepias right there. Got a nice Unauthorized missouriensis over there. Got a salvia right there, one of the eastern salvias. More of that lobelia. And then, of course, I just got the squash over here, too. Squash and datura. Oh, look, there's a snail right now. There you go. Real easy to deal with. This is a tomato plant. Not sure what's killing it or why it looks like shit. It might not like the water, the saline irrigation water. So basically, this was the same thing. Just covered in weeds. We weeded a lot. Just tilled them under with the shovels. Hand tilled them. Threw some mulch down. And then got all the plants and shit. And just threw them in there, you know. This was a donation. I think I paid like 20 bucks for some of these. Altogether, I got a deal. And then the rest were a donation. And we just threw them in. So, you know, it's still a while before they get looking good. Same thing over here. This was actually a donation from a friend who owns the nursery. This guy hit me up. He said, you know, I got more of these plants. Do you want some? I said, give me whatever you got. So he brought them by with a big ass truck, 60 in total. And I got some friends together. We just came out here and stuck all this shit in the ground. Most of it, we threw the cardboard down. Basically, because the weeds, the mulch alone is not enough to keep some of these weeds down. We got a lot of aggressive weeds here. So, you know, the cardboard basically, which will decompose anyways, it'll be gone in 6 months to a year, especially once the winter rains start. The cardboard will decompose, but in the meantime, those seeds will germinate. They won't get any light and they'll just die. So it works pretty good. Here's that Cantua. Look at it, a tree-like member of the fox family. I believe this is the national flower of Peru. And like many members of the fox family, it's got those blue anthers. How about that? Beautiful fucking plant right there. Hummingbird pollinated, of course. Tubular pink flowers. Foliage is not much to look at, but the flowers make up for it. These get about 12 feet tall, and they always have these pendant corollas right there. Over here we got a cestrum, solanaceae, another hummingbird pollinated. I've seen hummers pollinating this like the same day we planted it, you know, coming out to it. So we got this work in progress. Still got to throw some mulch down, but it's a lot nicer than it looked. It was just dead fucking roses, you know. Fucking no one takes care of any of this shit. I think it's just me and one or two other people that I got into it. And now here's a stevia plant. Stevia is a large genus, but this is the actual Stevia rebaudiana from Brazil that's used as the sweetener, you know. A friend pilfered this from the Whole Paycheck, I believe, from the Whole Foods up there in Berkeley. So I was happy to accommodate it and make space for it here in the little garden, you know. Not sure how big it'll get. Pretty nice though. Pretty nice plant to have around. And of course the flowers are discoid asteraceae flowers when they bloom. Here we got Salvia karwinskii, another Central American salvia that can get upwards of 10 feet tall. Probably won't get that big here because it's more exposed, but it does produce abundant pink hummingbird pollinated flowers. Real stunner. We got some native monkey flowers, some native diplacus right there. Zygomorphic corollas. This might be too sunny of a spot for them. Soil's kind of shit here too. It's kind of clay. Okay, we mulched it, but it's still kind of clay-like soil. There's another silphium, kind of taking a beating. I've never seen a silphium with that brown abaxial surface before. Look at that. And this was another donation bed. Same thing. Truck rolled up, dumped 60 plants here, and of course we just, you know, mulched the whole thing. Turned the irrigation on the night before to wet the soil. It was dry as a bone. Okay, dry as a bone and almost impossible to dig through, but now it's slowly coming back. You can see just a handful of pollinator-friendly plants from the Lamiaceae, the mint family, and the Penstemon genus, Plantaginaceae, the family. What's this over here? Oh, nice. That Guillaume, I believe it's a Guillaume Rosaceae. This was a donation. Everything here was donated. Okay, a couple things were seed growing, like that salvia. That's one of mine. I got a small lantus over there. That was seed grown too. Then I just threw some squashes in for shits and giggles. And again, we gotta come here, turn the irrigation on every 3 or 4 days or so. But it's looking nice. It's looking a lot nicer than it was. You can see there's a tree the city planted. They planted it and didn't water it, and so it died. So and you know, I'm thankful too, because I mean, you got all this nice sun. You can put a bunch of perennial stuff. You don't want to plant no trees here. You plant the trees in the back. so they're not going to steal all the light. This is pretty nice too. This little bed. This was completely fucking bone dry and dead. Nothing here. So anyway, that's all I got for you today. Hopefully you learned something. Anybody could do this, you know. You just got to find an area the city's not going to fuck with, and you know, the main things I worry about are, like I said, schizophrenic crackheads just tearing shit out on a whim, or a Karen. Say some Karen goes by, some busybody, you know, he or she's, you know, got nothing else to worry about, and so they got a problem with you. You know, I've dealt with those too, but they tend to go away after a while. It's nice. This is another Tithonia species. This one doesn't get as big as that other one. Look at that. That's nice. Real easy to do. Real easy. Anybody could do this. Just find the neglected areas, okay? Or you can even sneak stuff in to horticultural atrocity landscaping in a strip mall or something. That's all I got. Go fuck yourself. Bye.